next guest on the line, or he's in the green room, actually. He's ready to come on. And we might just bring him on, actually, because he's been waiting very, very patiently. And, you know, when you got a man like Rob Casha waiting, you don't keep him waiting too long. He's itching to get on, and he's got a lot to say. Good evening to Rob Casha, the head coach of Galaxy United. Rob, how are you? Hello? He can't hear us. Oh, we can hear him, but he just can't hear us, unfortunately. Oh, goodness me. We're going to just have to Steve, keep talking. I'm going to try and get our man Rob on the line.
Let's get Rob on the line. Okay, well, in the meantime, we can have a look towards that match. It's about to kick off at Jubilee Stadium in Sydney, and we'll have a look at that victory lineup. It's a youthful lineup that they're going with tonight. Matt Acton in goal, back four of Storm Maru, James Donachie, Galafuco and Adama Traore, and holding midfielders Jay Barnett and Lee Broxham, an attacking three of Rojas, Kidder and Cam Sober, playing behind Laurie Latunzio. So that is possibly the youngest victory outfit that's been fielded for a match for A-League points, possibly in the club's history. If you can point to a younger starting 11 for the victory in a A-League match, I'd like to know about it, but I think that might actually be it. And that match is just about to kick off now, so we'll keep you posted of any scoring in that match there. The Mariners lining up with a 4-1-4-1 formation with Matt Simon getting a gig in the starting 11 at the pointy end, and Tommy Orr is probably the other big name starting on the left flank. So that match about to kick off. Tonchi, is there any luck getting Rob on the line in the meantime?
Yeah, no, he's joining us on the line. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get him to get the visual. We're having visual problems, but he's definitely on the line. Rob, you there? Can you hear us?
Yep, I'm here, mate. Gotcha.
Okay. We can hear you nice, and we can hear you all well and good. That's the way. Now, mate, first of all, we'll talk about the season that's been. Like, it's just a season from hell, you could say. But 2020. Take us through the year, the pre-season. We've got him even visually. Okay, here we go. There we go. Hello, there we go. Can you hear us?
Gotcha. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, gotcha.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
yeah, pre-season.
Yeah, this season, what a crazy start to 2020 it was. I mean, you were hoping it was going to be a productive year or a rebuilding year, I guess. Is that the best way to describe it? Let's go through the pre-season. How was it, in the pre-season at Galaxy? How were things looking? We had the Community Cup in the early stages. Tell us a bit more about all of that.
Yeah, we started the pre-season in mid-November.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the young players come in. Atmosphere was really good. Players realised they had opportunities now to make it at higher level. The players who were sort of fringe players in the NPL setup were now going to become senior players, so they were pumped, ready to work hard. Atmosphere was really good. Played a few friendly games, and then we sort of got the inkling that something was going to go wrong. Went through the, what would you call it, the ladies' version of the Advertiser Cup. I can't remember what it was called, sorry.
Oh, the Geelong Community Cup, wasn't it? It was a bit of both.
My apologies.
Yep,
the Geelong Community Cup. Went through that. Enjoyed that very much. That was a huge positive. That was a great tournament. Whoever organised that needs to be commended.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had the COVID thing, and we were flying, to be honest. We were doing extremely well. Probably going to go into round one, probably the fittest we'd been in a long time. Really, really positive, and then the belly went out of it. COVID arrived, and that was the end of it.
And was it the season was meant to start that weekend, or did you have a Nike FC Cup that was supposed to be that weekend that was actually, lockdown version 1?
Yeah, it was night cup.
The night
Cup.
Yep.
We were supposed to play night cup, and then that didn't happen. Players were, a little bit disappointed, and I spoke to players during the last lockdown and trying to keep them positive, giving them training sessions that they could do in isolation, and listening to players who were not feeling good because some of them live alone, mentally, needed someone to talk to. But yeah, we got through it, and then we got through to another sort of version of pre-season once we came out of it.
Yep.
And that was really interesting. It was surprising how positive they came back. It was surprising how positive they come back.
In the sense, positive physically, as in like they hadn't lost anything physically of their physical conditioning, or mentally, or a combination of both. Mentally.
Physically, they were still very fit, but not where we were at before we were going into round one. We were going to be an extremely fit side.
Yeah.
But the conditioning was, that can be managed. So we could manage the conditioning, but mentally they come back very, very good because there was the opportunity of playing football again. So they worked hard, got themselves back up to not where they needed to be, but to a version of where they needed to be, considering, we were going to go into a season so quickly. All we needed was permission to tackle.
Yeah.
And I'd organised a friendly game with my friend Mike Chapman at Rangers. The second we could tackle, we were going to play one another just to reward our both clubs' players for their hard work.
Yeah.
And which was good that the two clubs are talking, and get ourselves a game. And Melbourne locked down, and we sort of, numbers went up with COVID, and we weren't allowed to tackle again. And the players mentally, for the senior players mentally, that probably I could pinpoint that part of the training where they went, we're not going to play. And they just, you could see they were sort of, they started to have a bit of a kick about, and there's nothing I can do about that. There's nothing anyone can do about that. But then this under-18s competition.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah, how did that come about? Yeah, and was it a hit? Was it a miss? How did it come about? And going forward, is this something that you can envisage becoming a permanent fixture?
I hope so, because I enjoyed it. It was going to be good for us because we get to be part of the community, because none of our teams actually get to play in the community, and we were actually got to be part of the community.
Yeah.
We only got to play one game. I got to have a conversation with North Geelong's coaches. I got to see North Geelong's players. Same was going to happen with Bowen Heads, etc., etc. Our players were all told, make yourself accessible to opposition coaches, opposition players, join your community, really, really get involved. And they were enjoying it because they're all girls of, 15 to 17 years of age. And to then become the badge wearer, we'll call it, for our club, they took that on board, and they were proud to showcase our club.
I mean, that's pretty incredible from the idea, the conception phase to actually being played out as first round. I think it only took like 10 days or something, if that.
I had a conversation with the president, Branko. Branko said to me, I think on the Friday, he said to me, they're talking about an under-18s competition. Would you like to put a team in from the under-18s? I said, sure, we can marry the under-16s and the under-18s, the reserves players together.
Yeah.
The players that were eligible, we can marry them together, and we can use it to develop potentially our team for 2022-23. So we're looking that far ahead. And it was all positive, and I said, yeah, 100%, let's do it. I'm happy to coach it, make sure that we're learning, not just participating. We wanted to still use it as a learning phase for our players. And yeah, we did it. And then next Thursday, he said to me, I hope you're ready because we're playing on Saturday. I had to cancel work.
Now, Rob, before we go any further, can you just adjust your camera because you're cutting the top of your head? I know we love to see your face. That's perfect. That's much
good.
better.
I bald head.
Yeah, well, that's why I wear caps. Steve, you had something to ask Rob. Steve, did you?
Rob, let's look forward. There's a lot of good
I can't
things.
hear him, and it better not be about Arsenal. I can't hear Steve.
You can't hear? No, okay. That's all right.
Okay, he can't hear Steve. Okay.
Can we ask Rob about the 2023 World Cup and what that might mean?
All right, Rob. Can we ask you about the 1 second? I'm going to change something here. All right, go, Steve. Ask that question again.
All right, Rob. Is that better now?
Yeah, I can just hear you.
You can just hear me. Okay. Looking towards the 2023 Women's World Cup, what does that mean for football and women's football in our region?
Now, I've only just heard you. Was that a question about the Women's World Cup? And
about the women's. Yeah, about the Women's World Cup. The decision to announce Australia as the host, and what will that do for women's football in this country?
Oh, mate, I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant because we'll be able to showcase our game and how good the women are in this country. Because you have to remember our national team's probably third best, fourth best, arguably in the world, maybe even higher. For me, I say they're the best in the world. To be a player within the NPL system below that, you are technically playing in the fourth best, the best league in the fourth best country in the world. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to be missing at this next World Cup, which I hope we're all out to achieve, is some young girl from Geelong should be in that Matilda setup. That's what we should be working towards.
Yeah, wouldn't that be good? Wouldn't that be good? We've got Macy Santich, who's a regular listener of our show in Football Out West, heavily involved down in women's football down in Melbourne. He says, please ask Rob, as a respected coach of women's football. Now, I don't know if he's saying that he's a respected coach of women's football or you're the respected coach of women's football, Rob. Either way, he's asking, Rob, what is your view of how you feel women's football is going? So, in other words, what's your view? How is women's football going? Let's firstly say here in Geelong, and then we'll move nationally. So the state of affairs with women's football, Rob, obviously taking into account the World Cup coming up. How are we? Where are we? If you were a school teacher, what sort of an assessment would you give it?
Well, when I was in the NPL system with Galaxy United, the football was the first 2 to 3 years was really, really good. Was brilliant, and then you could start to see it plateau a little bit. I think the novelty had worn off, and how can I say it? I think the player pool was a little bit diluted, right? But that's arguable. That's just my opinion, right? With our club, it didn't help taking the pathway out of the region because the region had players in junior ranks who were being bred to play at a particular level, and that was taken away from them. But in saying that, they can then achieve the place in NPLW by winning themselves a state league one or VPLW tournament, which means they're not being handed their position; they've actually earned the right. So I think that's fantastic. State of women's football, in my opinion, in Geelong, there's still a lot of participation in it. I'd like to see girls who want to be competitive, want to try to go to that next level and be the next Sam Kerr. Have an opportunity to do it, because I find that they're not really being pushed. I see the difference between my son and women's football. My son plays for Geelong Soccer Club. He is really pushed at training. They work him hard, right? Whereas you go away from, for example, a Galaxy system, if they don't want to turn up to training, there's no one really bothers, right? Where I think they should bother. I think they should be treated the same as the boys. If you don't turn up to training, there's got to be an explanation as to why. It's not a participation sport. This is a real sport. If you want to play at the highest levels, you have to work hard. There's nothing wrong with telling our kids to work hard, because we say to our kids, we say to each other as adults all the time, kids these days, they don't work hard enough. Everything's handed to them. Well, what's wrong with a guy or woman coach saying to the player, mate, you're not working hard enough. You need to earn every minute you play.
Yeah. I remember a while back, or not that while back, just not that long ago, or something on the YouTube, and there was an American guy. I wish I had this video, and he was going on about how we're building too much of a participation generation, and have you seen it? Yeah. And when the guy basically says we're giving ribbons to those that finish 10th in school sports, like back in my day, we used to, if you finished first, second, or third, you get a ribbon. If you finished fourth, you get nothing. Are we building too much of a participation generation, as the gentleman in question says?
I think we are. I think there's nothing wrong with, because when they're adults, they're going to have a boss. I'm a boss. I own a business. They're going to have a boss who says, well, mate, where have you been? It's 10 o'clock. You start at 8 o'clock. Where have you been? Or you're not working quick enough, blah, 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 blah. There's always going to be. So if we can't instill that not in children, but if we can't instill that in young adults, they're going to become unemployable adults. So I disagree with the whole participation. We need participation. I disagree with rewarding mediocrity.
Yeah. And I guess, look, there has to be different levels, I suppose at mini roos, at something like that, at entry level, even if it's at a social competition, the emphasis is what? Having fun or having a kick. But when you get to Galaxy, I mean, we're talking elite. We're talking about the region's elite. Now, if they get to the country championships, we're talking about the region's elite. There shouldn't be, and I'm talking, this doesn't apply just to the girls. I think this should apply across the board. If we're talking elite, we've heard from Joey Diddlitz on this very show. It's a dog-eat-dog world when you get to Europe. There's, there are people, your own teammates, looking to break your legs at training because you're keeping their spot. You're taking their spot. So there's a lot of as I said, dog-eat-dog type of a world. We don't have that. Yeah. We don't have that killer instinct in our kids, have we? Particularly when they get to that elite level.
Some of the girls I have it, but if you haven't got it at this level, you're really not going to go far. You don't have to look past clubs like Calder United. Calder United, they work their players really hard. They make them train. They're a very good professional female football club. But look at the results they've had. Champions of the NPLW, TMAP Cups, Nike Cups. They're the benchmark.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be, if you want to be, I think if players want to be an Olympian or a high-level player, I think at junior level it's important you give them the taste and what it's actually like. Because if they get to their teenage years and think it's a cruise, once they get to that next level where they want to get to, they go, that's it for me, I'm done.
Yeah. That's an interesting conversation.
It's hard work to be a professional sportsman.
Yeah. Mm. And as you say, if we're going to get a girl from Geelong working her way up to the Matildas, she has to go down that path. She has to go down that path of knowing how to learn the knocks. Is that right? Knowing how to get knocked, hit to the ground, and then pick herself up and get back.
Yeah. At some stage, if you want to be a Matilda, and this is for even our club, at some stage, if you want to be a Matilda, you're going to have to leave your comfort zone. You're going to have to leave Drysdale. You're going to have to leave Surf Coast. You're going to have to leave Galaxy. You're going to have to leave North. Because if you want to be the best, if you want to be a Sam Kerr, you've got to be uncomfortable. You've got to be uncomfortable. You've got to be prepared to make sacrifices. You've got to be prepared to do your homework in the car on the way to training. It's a sacrifice. To get to the highest levels is a sacrifice.
Golden words from a great coach there, and Chris Briffer, who I'm sure you know, he's a regular listener on our show, and he says, he says, Rob Casha, former Altona North SC gun player and committee man, also a great bloke. And Chris Briffer says here, and he's got some interesting points. He said, they're rewarding mediocrity and setting them up for a fall. In all sports, we teach our kids to play fair. In Europe, they teach kids to win at all costs. There is probably the big difference between being a world superstar and being just someone that's doing comfortably well. But I like what you say there, that everyone to succeed, to be a world superstar, needs to get out of their comfort zone.
I don't believe in winning at all costs, but I do believe players should understand that they're there to win, because winning at all costs can come at being not a good person. I still think you need to be a good person, but still understand that you need to win the game.
Yeah. Good point. Steve?
Now, Rob, looking forward, hopefully you can...
I can't hear you, Tonch.
No, you have to ask the question, Tonchy.
What was that, sorry?
I can't hear him.
Rob can't hear me.
Steve.
Oh, what's going on? Seriously. Can you hear? Gans?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yep. Steve, say.
Yep.
Gotcha. I've got him.
Yep. Okay, Rob, let's look to the next 6 or so weeks. What can we do, and how can we look out for each other in terms of mental health for our footballing community in the next 6 weeks and beyond?
Well, I'm going to stay in contact with my players, because I know there's some of them that live alone. There's a few of them who are very young kids, and we don't have to look past the last lockdown to see how bad that was for teenagers within the region. And the players I have myself, I consider them like my kids. I'd hate to think that they're lonely and have no one to talk to, and I'll be looking out. And I think it's important that not just the coaches, that teammates go out, look after each other. The clubs follow up their players, because it's not open the doors in November, we train, have a season, scream and yell at each other, congratulate each other on different days, and then shut the doors in November, December, and walk away. It's not like that. Football it's life. It's a life. Even if a player moves on to another club, you still love that player. They're still your friend, regardless of if you've fallen out with them or not. They're still your friend. You've had disagreements on a football field, but in life, we're still friends. So, I just think it's important that from my point of view, I'll contact all my players and make sure. Because I know they've got issues off the ground. Coaching senior players is completely different to coaching juniors. They have life issues. They might not be able to eat. They might be not working and not have any money. This new job keeper is not going to be enough money to support themselves and pay a mortgage. And I'd hate to think one of them's hungry at home and I've got a pantry full of food.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that even just, for example, you two guys ring each other during the day and say, "How are you, Tonchy?"
Oh, I'm sick of Steve. I don't want to talk to him. Actually, that's true.
You know where I'm going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We were talking about this earlier today, and how important that football connection is. Sometimes, and someone did mention it. Back in the day, the football clubs is where people used to go. I know, I come from a community of immigrants, as do you. And I think a lot of people, they couldn't speak English. They felt like a foreigner in this country. And the only time they ever felt part of anything was when they were down at their local football club. And I think, that is how important it was back in the 60s and 70s, is equally important to this generation now in the 2020s. But Mate, hopefully, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. You've got some absolute pearls of wisdom there, and we look forward to having you on again next time when it's probably, a lot more, sunnier, a lot more positive, a lot more, something to look forward to, as opposed to at the moment when it is going to be tough, but we're determined we'll pull through it all together.
Yeah, hopefully the positive that comes out of all this is that all the coaches who normally and people who don't normally get together and talk to each other now start talking to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob, thank you very much for joining us on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Rob.
And that was Rob Casha. Some very, very good words there. Absolutely. Really, a really good message there, Steve.
Yeah, I like the passion that he brings, and it's like the whole thing about making that elite level. It's like you haven't got to work hard to do it. You look at these young athletes getting up out of bed at 4 a.m. to try and make the Olympic swimming teams. Well, we can't just think we're going to make the Socceroos or the Matildas based on some entitlement and training 2 or 3 times a week. We've got to be doing more than our rivals and doing our best to get there. So
yeah, absolutely,
that's it.